Have you ever caught yourself wondering how some folks in their 70s or even 80s seem to have this spark, this energy that makes them stand out like a rare gem? Maybe you've seen a neighbor who's always out tending their garden, or a friend who still takes the stairs without a second thought. It's inspiring, isn't it? Well, here's the good news. If you're between 65 and 80 and can still do a few key things, you might just be one of those special people destined to live to 100, or at least feel like you could. Today, I want to chat with you about what makes someone a rare gem at this age and how you can keep shining bright for years to come. We're going to walk through 5 simple things that can tell you you're on the right track, things you might already be doing without even realizing it. So, grab a cup of tea, get comfy, and let's dive in together. First off, let's talk about moving your body, not in some big fancy way, but just keeping it going. If you can still walk a mile without feeling like you've run a marathon, that's a huge sign you're in rare company. Now, I'm not saying you need to be out there speed walking like you're training for the Olympics. Even a steady stroll around the block or down to the mailbox counts. The trick is doing it regularly, like a little promise to yourself. I knew a lady named Margaret who was 78, and every morning, rain or shine, she'd walk to the corner store just to say hi to the cashier. She'd laugh and say it wasn't about the exercise. It was about not letting her legs forget what they were for. And you know what? She swore it kept her feeling 20 years younger. The thing is, staying mobile keeps your heart happy, your joints loose, and your spirits up. It's not about distance or speed. It's about telling your body, hey, we're still in this game. So, if you're someone who can still get out there and move, give yourself a pat on the back. You're already ahead of the curve. Now, let's shift gears a bit and talk about something we don't always think about, your brain. If you can still remember where you parked your car or the names of your grandkids without too much trouble, that's another feather in your cap. Memory's a funny thing, isn't it? It can feel like it's slipping away some days. But the truth is, keeping your mind sharp doesn't take a lot of heavy lifting. It's more about little habits that add up. Take my Uncle Jim. He's 76 and still does the crossword puzzle every Sunday. He says it's his secret weapon against what he calls the fog. And he's on to something. Studies show that people who keep their brains busy, whether it's puzzling out a word game, chatting about old memories with a friend, or even learning something new, like how to use that smartphone your kids got you, tend to stay sharper longer. It's like exercise for your mind. So if you're still quick with a story, or can recall what you had for breakfast yesterday, you're doing something right. That's a sign your brain's still got that spark, and it's carrying you toward those triple digits. Speaking of keeping things going, let's touch on sleep. Because if you're still catching a solid 6 or 7 hours a night without too much tossing and turning, you're in a rare league. I know. Sleep can feel like a battle sometimes. Maybe you wake up at 3 a.m. for no reason, or the dog decides it's time to bark at the moon. But here's the thing. Good sleep is like gold for your body and mind. My friend Betty, who just turned 80, swears by her nighttime routine. She dims the lights, sips a little chamomile tea, and reads a chapter of a book. Not on a screen, mind you, but a real paper book. She says it's like telling her brain, okay, time to wind down. And it works. She's out like a light most nights. If you're still managing to get that kind of rest, it's doing wonders for you. It's repairing your cells, keeping your mood steady, and giving you the energy to tackle the day. So, if you're waking up feeling refreshed more often than not, that's another clue you're a rare gem. And it's setting you up to keep going strong. Now that we've covered moving, remembering, and resting, let's ease into something else that's just as important: how you fuel yourself. We'll get into that next, because what you're putting on your plate might be the quiet hero keeping you vibrant and ready for whatever comes your way. All right, so we've been chatting about how moving your body, keeping your mind sharp, and getting good sleep are signs you're a rare gem. Someone who's got what it takes to live to 100 if you're between 65 and 80. Now, let's talk about something that ties it all together: what you're eating. If you can still enjoy your meals and make smart choices without feeling like you're on some strict diet, you're doing something pretty special. Food's not just fuel, it's like the secret ingredient that keeps your engine running smooth. Take my neighbor Tom, for instance. He's 72 and still grows his own tomatoes in the backyard. He'll sit there with a big grin, slicing one up with a little salt, and say, "This is why I don't need a doctor every week." He's not wrong. Eating simple, fresh stuff, like veggies, fruits, or even a handful of nuts, keeps your body humming along. It's not about cutting out everything you love either. If you're still able to savor a piece of pie at the church potluck, but balance it with good, wholesome food most days, that's a win. It shows you've got the knack for keeping things steady, and that's a big deal. Your heart, your bones, even your energy, they're all thanking you for it. So, if you're someone who can still dig into a meal and feel good about it, you're proving you've got that rare spark. Now, let's shift a little and talk about something that's not always easy to measure, but makes a huge difference: how you handle life's ups and downs. If you can still laugh at a silly joke or shrug off a rainy day without letting it ruin your mood, that's a sign you're built to last. I think about my Aunt Clara, who's 79, and has this way of turning everything into a story. Last week, she spilled coffee all over her favorite sweater, and instead of getting mad, she just chuckled and said, "Well, I guess it's time to break in a new one." That kind of attitude, it's gold. It's not about pretending everything's perfect. It's about rolling with the punches. Life's thrown plenty at you by this point, right? Maybe it's aches and pains, or maybe it's missing folks who aren't around anymore. But if you can still find a reason to smile, that resilience is what sets you apart. It keeps your stress low and your spirit high. And trust me, that's a big part of why some people keep going strong well past 100. So, if you're still cracking a grin or finding joy in the little things, you're showing the world you're one of those rare gems. Let's keep this flowing and dive into what's next, because there's one more piece to this puzzle that's all about how you connect with the world around you. It's not what you might think, but it's a quiet strength that's keeping you young at heart. So, we've been talking about how moving your body, keeping your mind sharp, sleeping well, eating smart, and staying resilient are all signs you're a rare gem. Someone between 65 and 80 who's got the magic to live to 100. Now, let's wrap this up with something that might surprise you. If you can still connect with the world around you, whether it's people, nature, or just the little moments, that's the final piece that makes you shine. I'm not saying you need a packed social calendar or 100 friends. It's simpler than that. Maybe it's chatting with the cashier at the grocery store, waving to a neighbor, or even sitting on your porch watching the birds. My friend Ed, who's 77, has this habit of feeding the squirrels every morning. He'll toss out a few peanuts and talk to them like they're old pals. He says it's not about the squirrels, it's about feeling like he's still part of things. And he's right. That connection, however small, keeps you grounded. It's like a little thread tying you to life, reminding you you're still here and still matter. If you're someone who can find that spark in a conversation, a sunset, or even a quiet moment alone, you're doing something powerful. It keeps your heart open and your days bright. And that's a secret weapon for sticking around a long, long time. Now, think about all this for a second. If you're nodding along, recognizing yourself in these habits, walking a bit, remembering the good stuff, sleeping sound, eating well, laughing easy, and staying connected, then you're already living proof of what makes someone a rare gem. These aren't big, impossible things. They're small choices, little moments that add up to something amazing. You don't have to be perfect at them either. Just keeping at it is what counts. I look at folks like Margaret with her daily walks, or Betty with her chamomile tea, or Ed and his squirrels, and I see people who aren't just surviving, they're thriving. And you can too. It's like they've cracked the code to feeling younger than their years. And it's not about luck. It's about showing up for themselves every day. So, if you're still doing these things, take a moment to feel proud. You're not just getting by. You're setting yourself up to hit 100 with a smile. Before I go, I'd love to hear from you. What's one thing you do that keeps you feeling alive and kicking? Drop it in the comments. I bet we've got some gems out there with stories to share. And if you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. There's more where this came from, and I'd love to keep chatting with you about living your best life, no matter your age. Here's to being rare, being strong, and shining bright all the way to 100 and beyond.